Good morning, everybody. This is Emma here from Exago. We've got our support lab all ready for you guys today. We're going to be talking about some formulas, how to use them, how to use the different ones, and how you can really combine the functionality to get your desired output. Per usual, we're gonna give you guys a couple minutes to settle in. The names are still starting to come in here, so we will aim to start at 11:02.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. So welcome to today's support lab. We are going to be discussing formulas, and as I just said, we're going to be starting at 11:02. I believe that the broadcast was not started, and therefore I was speaking to myself. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys all got the message. We're going to be kicking off at about 11:02. All right, it is about that time. Welcome and good morning or good afternoon, wherever you're tuning in from. My name is Emma Williams. I'm an employee here at Exago, as I'm sure most of you are familiar. I am very happy to be here delivering another support lab. These are my favorite little tidbits of information to share with you all. This particular support lab is going to be pertaining to formulas specifically. We've designed this lab to kind of give you an idea of how to use the formulas, what you can accomplish with them, but also as a precursor to the second lab of the month, which will be focusing on teaching you guys how to write your own custom functions, and that is going to be delivered by my colleague Nick Cortina, who is also here today to answer any questions you guys might have. So per usual, if you guys could type in a Y or a yes to the questions pane just to let me know I'm coming through loud and clear. Great, already getting some answers there. Thank you guys so much. All right, so let's jump right in. I made a little PowerPoint just so that we can get ourselves kicked off with a little synopsis. You know, we want to know exactly what we're covering today. So first and foremost, what are formulas within Exago? So formulas allow users to create some complex calculations. You have the ability to parse strings there. You can insert images within the application, and beyond. These are only some of the use cases. Formulas can consist of functions, of parameters, of strings, of date fields. They can use cell references, and we'll be showing you how to use some of these functionalities today. So just as an overview, right, today you're going to walk away from this lab with a little bit more knowledge regarding how to write the formulas that are focused on the parsing or concatenation of strings. We're going to show you how to use date functions to achieve a desired output. So of course, achieve a desired output is a blanket term, but we'll dive into how to really manipulate those date functions correctly. We're going to show you how to use cell references both within formulas and also to display aggregate information in somewhere other than the footer. And we're also going to show you how to correctly wrap multiple functions in one formula. We find that there's quite a bit of confusion regarding what should be the outermost function and what should be the innermost function, and with more than one it gets a little tricky, right? You need to have your parentheses in the right place, et cetera, et cetera. So we're here to really clear all of that up today. And as I said, the next lab is going to be giving us information regarding custom functions, how to create them, how to display them to your end users, and then also how to use them. So in the nature of the labs, we have a more end usery one for the first of the month, and then that second one, as I said, delivered by my colleague Nick. We'll dive in a little more technical. So I'm going to go ahead over to Familiar Exago, and we're just going to take a look real quick at a couple of reports I've designed and walk through exactly how these are set up. So first and foremost, I wanted to focus on some string functions. So if I open up this report, and I'll also run it so that we can see the output. So what we've got here is orders to be shipped. So this might be an internal report, right? We're just keeping track of what orders we need to be shipped, what their required date might be, and the shipping address, right? So it's just giving us an idea of the orders that are sitting in our queue, when do they have to get there by, and what address are we shipping it to. And this looks very simple off the cusp, right? But if we go back into it, we can see that there is no field simply called shipping address. We don't have a field that will return this information right here. So we've actually used a formula and a combination of other fields to do exactly what I just showed you. So first and foremost, we've got this string ship to. We put the space here, and this is important because if we didn't have this space here, it would simply say ship to, and there would be no space in between the text here and then the ship name that comes up here. So I can simply add my space within my string. This has to be wrapped in parentheses given it is a string. And then I'm using this concatenation symbol to concatenate my pieces together, right? So I've got strings here. I've got a column here. This is going to be just a column that will pull those values, ship name. I'm using a new line function. So this is actually a function right within my formula. Again, using that concatenation. And then another field. We've got our ship address. Again, we want a new line. And I'd like to draw attention to the fact that we do need to have these concatenation symbols in between each new part of our formula, right? So this first part is a string. That's all great. But then we need a concatenation symbol to tell it that we want this to be connected to this in our output. And the same thing goes for the new line. Every time you're doing something new, you need to concatenate it with what you've already got. So we continue in the same process, right? We've got orders.shipped address, and we're going to concatenate that. We're going to, again, want a new line there. Ship city. And then what I'd really like to highlight here is that all we're doing here is using a string to add in this comma. And here we're just using this string to add in a space. So we don't want to see the region and the ship postal code back to back, right? We want them next to each other. You can see here, but we just want to add a comma there so that it's there's a little bit of space in between there. So in lieu of using the new line function and putting it on a completely different line, we use this this really an empty string, right? All it consists of is a space to kind of space out our string and allow us to accomplish the output that we're looking for there. So this is the most simple of the formulas and functions and etc. that I'd like to show you today. I am going to pause if there's any questions here. I know that was a whole bunch at once, but I'll pause for just a moment and check out these questions that are coming in. Okay, so right off the bat, where can you find an overview of Exago's formula functions is a question that just came in. I can actually, or rather, it would probably be easier if Nick, if you could just drop in the link to that article in our support site. There's actually a list of every function, and each function each function listed is a hyperlink to a page that describes exactly how to use it and maybe an example or two to let you know exactly what it will do. Thank you, Nick, for dropping that link in. Okay, wonderful. So it looks like that's all the questions we're getting on the first one, so I'm going to go ahead and move right along there. Let's see. So the next thing I'd like to show you has to do with logical questions. Logical formulas. So I'm going to go ahead and run this report so we can see what we're looking at. This is a restock report, right? So we've got our product name grouped by categories. We've got our reorder level here, and then we've got our units in stock and our units on order. So this one is a formula itself. It's simply adding the units in stock to the units on order and allowing us to display the current inventory that we have in our warehouse, additional as well as the inventory that is on its way to our warehouse. And then we have the status, right? So based on these fields, we're displaying a custom message here. So let's go ahead into the editor and see what we're actually looking at here. So very simple string concatenation here. You guys have seen this. We just went through it, but I concatenated a string category. Again, don't forget to put that space there, simply for appearances, right? For aesthetic purposes, you don't want to see category and then smushed together with the actual category name. Here we just have our product name and our product reorder level. These are simple fields. What we have here, and I'll go ahead into the formula editor, is going to be products on stock and units in order. And this is going to give us, like I said, just that total inventory that is either in our warehouse or on its way, excuse me. I also have conditional formatting, so a little throwback to the last lab in case you missed that or we're looking for further clarification. This is simply based on the cell value. I use the cell value function here if it's less than 50, and that cell value is, again, that summation of units in stock and on order. But the really cool thing here is the status column. So if we go into this formula editor, I promised that I would show you how to correctly wrap your functions, right? Correctly wrap them so that they're going to do exactly what you want them to do. So here I'm using an if statement as well as an and statement. I do see one question here that I think is applicable to everyone. Single quotes and double quotes are going to serve the same purpose here in this formula language that we're using within Exago. Single and double does not make a difference. As you can see here, I am using single in my case, but double would be just as valid. Okay, so anyways, we've got a couple things here, right? What are we looking at? We've got an if statement on the outside, we've got an and statement on the inside, and then we've got a couple of arguments down here. So let's really break this down and evaluate what we have here. So first and foremost, I'm going to look at this and statement, right? So this is the inner one. What and is going to do, and if I actually go ahead and click here, it'll give me a little tooltip down here to explaining exactly what it does. So and returns true if all of the arguments are true. Otherwise, it will return false. Pretty straightforward, right? So what you're going to do here is give your and statement. Here we've given it two arguments. And if these both evaluate to true, we'll display this. If they evaluate to false, we'll display this. The only reason that these are going to be if-else is because of this if statement. So what we're looking at here again, and I'm gonna go ahead and break it down again. So and product reorder level is less than or equal to 50, and products dot units on stock and units on order are less than or equal to 50. So we've also got a summation in here, right? If both of these are true, due to this if statement, we then take the first argument and display that. If both of these are false or one of these are false, right? Because we're using an and statement. So both of these have to evaluate to true. So if either one of these is false, we display all set for now. So the purpose here is simply that we're giving ourselves a way to display different text based on any number of parameters there, right? So, and you can see in this executed report, we've got time to order more when both of these are less than 50. We've got all set for now when this one alone is over 50. Any questions there? And I believe Nick is doing a pretty good job of staying on top of these questions. Great, it looks like he's typing away over there, so we're doing all right there. So any questions on the logical formulas specifically, other than the ones that I do see here? And as I said, Nick is actively answering those. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move along to the next one. If there's any outstanding questions, once we're through the third example, I will certainly double back to them, but I think that we can plug along here. So I'm going to go ahead and run this report as well and also open up the editor. So this is a really big example, right? There's always going to be two or three simple examples, and then we're going to do the really hard hitter that might trip a couple people's up. So here's what we're looking at here. This is a shipping report. We are trying to average out the number of days that inventory is sitting in our warehouse once it's been ordered. So we display our order date here, and then we display our shipped date here. Days from order to ship is going to be the number of days between these two, and I'll show you what function we're using for that. But then we also have the overall average days to ship in our report header. So, or in our page header, excuse me. So this is going to display the average of the days to ship, whereas this one is displaying the average of the days to ship for each month. So if I go into here, let's walk through some of these functions, right? We've got quite a few formulas happening here and some cell referencing. This is really the doozy of the presentation. So first and foremost, we're going to take a look at this month name function. Month name is actually a custom function, so something that Nick will be talking about on the lab in about 2 weeks, I believe. But what this custom function is going to do is allow us to take the month of a date right? So we all know that the month function just simply pulls out the month in a number of that date. And then the month name is going to take that number that we've pulled out with the month function, be it 1 for January or 2 for February, and it's going to display the name of the month. So as you can see on our output, we have January displayed here, not 1. I would also like to mention that in our sections, we're sorting on the month of the order date, right? So many people often ask, well, why would I not sort on the month name of the month of the order date? Why is this different than that? We want, the way the sorts are going to work is if this is numeric, they're going to sort them in numeric order. If this is alphabetical, they'll sort them in alphabetical order. So we don't want to see our months in alphabetical order because then we would start with the A's, right? We don't want to see April before January. We want them to be sorted according to their numeric values. So that's going to be an important distinction there that I like to point out. Great. So the next function I'd like to dive into is this date diff. Date diff takes 3 arguments. So I'll again pull up the little description, returns the amount of time between 2 dates. But let me walk you through exactly what arguments this function is going to take. So date diff takes 3 arguments, as I said. The first is going to be simply the metric you'd like your answer returned in. So maybe I'd like to see the number of days, right? The difference between the order date and the ship date is very minimal. It is, in fact, only a number of days. We're not working with a number of months or years or etc. here, so I'm just going to do day, but you certainly can do down to the hours. I've done date diffs using hours before, so the limits there are not too many, and you also will be able to find that article that Nick sent to everyone will give you more information on the date diff and exactly what valid inputs are here. But then the second 2 arguments are very straightforward, right? I want the difference between this date and this date. So I'm simply going to put those 2 dates in, etc. And that's how this works. And then you can see here that it's returning days from order to ship. Okay. So the last thing I'd like to touch on today, and I think this one is something that will be very applicable to most people. So oftentimes we get the question, why isn't my aggregate function working? And 90% of the time the answer is, well, what section are you trying to aggregate in, right? Aggregates can only be done in footers. So a group footer, a report footer, etc., whatever type of footer, but they have to be done at the end of the report execution. So the way that we can combat that to display those aggregates in our headers or in any other section of our report is using cell referencing. So first and foremost, these are the same formula. These are computing the exact same thing. The cell D5 is this cell right here. So that's the one where we created the date diff, right? So this returns a number. And if we go back here, this returns 9, 11, 6, 9, 8, 4, 16, etc. We want to take the average of that. Oops. So what we can do is simply use our aggregate average function found in the aggregate section. Ag-avg. I'm not sure how you would pronounce that. I think avg is close enough. And then add in that cell reference. Cell references always have to be between square brackets. That's the important thing to note here, but you're just going to wrap it in that formula, same as always. But the other way we can accomplish the same formula is taking this entire thing and just pasting it within an ag average. So 2 different ways to set up this formula. Cell references is probably the easier way to do it. But if you maybe hadn't already built up this entire formula and you just wanted the average, this is certainly another way that you can accomplish that, and they are going to display the same value. And then what I did, so additionally, I placed these in 2 different sections, right? So this is taking the average of this formula, since our formulas are aware of the section that they're in, I could place this formula into the report footer and it would display overall average days to ship. It would take the average of all of the days to ship. But since I have it in a month footer, it's going to take the average for each month. So for January, this formula right here will take the average of the values calculated here that are corresponding to January. This one, since instead of the report footer, we'll take the average of this formula here, and it's not going to be limited by month, right? Because we have no grouping in place in the report footer, and it's simply going to display the overall days to ship. So you can see that these two vary. We've got monthly average days to ship displayed right next to the month that it corresponds to, and then overall average days to ship in our page header, so we can see that all of the time. So you'll see if I page through, when I hit February, monthly average days to ship is 8.61 and overall is going to be 8.55. So you can see that they're differencing here. The monthly average days to ship are differencing, and the overall average days to ship are gonna stay the same as those are a total report summary. So that is the conclusion. I'm just checking out the questions. I want to make sure that there's nothing that we should take the time to answer live time. So if you'll bear with me for a moment, I would like to just check in and see if there's anything that's applicable to everyone. And it looks like Nick did a great job of answering these questions. Oh, and he's he's still going. So one question, where can I go to see past webinar recordings? All of these recordings are going to be on the support site under training. I can actually point you towards that page if you'd like. Just give me 1 second to pull that up. And I'll paste that right in there. Oh, another quick question, and I think this one is very important. The formulas at the bottom are not showing in the footer section, and that is because, let me here. These grayed out areas, I have suppressed these footer rows. So if I wanted to unsuppress them, they would show in the footer section, but I wanted my cell, excuse me, I wanted my summary information displayed at the top of my report, so I suppressed these rows and then cell reference them to the top so that we could display those only at the top. Does that answer that question? Great. Sounds great. Just going over all these questions. All right, so let me just get that link to the past webinar recordings, and I'll drop that in just one moment. Okay, so you should all be able to see that link. It goes to the videos. They're separated by administrative support labs and end user support labs. So this one would be classified as an end user. The one that Nick will deliver in about 2 weeks is going to be one of the more technical support labs. Oh gosh, there are so many custom functions out there. We will. That is certainly the topic of tomorrow's of the next lab. And you'll be able to get a little bit of more of a better understanding of how to reference those and use those. We have a bunch on our support site. I think I can also find that article because I know that the month name one specifically is on the support site. So let me see what we have here. Okay, so here is some information on some custom functions that we have. For that one question. The other functions that were presented in this webinar, the only one that was a custom function was that month name function. The rest of them are shipped out of the box, of course, but if you would like more information on how to create them, that article that I just sent you will certainly clear some things up for you. I think it looks like we covered all of the questions, and it seems that they have slowed down. So I think what I'm going to do is conclude today's lab. If you do have more questions, certainly submit a support ticket or follow up however you see fit. And we're happy to assist. Of course, we want you guys to get the best experience with Exago possible, and any help we can provide is only what we want to do. So with that being said, thank you all so much for attending. I look forward to speaking with you in 2 weeks, and I hope you have a great Wednesday.